Hey everybody, welcome back to Creative Chat Cafe. It's Wednesday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, USA time. And if you're brand new to the show, you're probably wondering what in the world is Creative Chat Cafe. Well, Creative Chat Cafe is the talk show hangout that brings you guidance, inspiration, and hopefully give you results into all your marketing, business development, and leadership needs. And I am Zef Zan, your host for the show, and I actually have two great people on the show today, and I believe you've seen Lerone Glickman, who's my regular co-host on Creative Chat Cafe, and we have a brand new rookie on the show. Woohoo! And I just want to say welcome, Stephen Boughton. How are you? I hope I have said your name correctly. Is that right, Steve?
It's Boughton, but yes,
Boughton.
I'm doing great, Zef.
Of course, I always butcher the simple names, and I try so hard on the hard in them. So there you go, folks. We have Steve joining us as a rookie on the show, so we're going to help welcome him to the show. And before we get started, let's just get these two to introduce themselves so that, you will know what they do and get a little bit more familiar about who they are. Go ahead, Lerone.
So hi everyone, and hi Zef and Stephen, and thank you so much again for having me on this show. As you briefly mentioned, I'm a business networking coach, and I work with entrepreneurs, small business owners, and corporate employees around the world and in Israel. And basically, I help them to achieve their goals through smart creation and management of relationships, because it's all about people. That's me.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah. Yay, thanks, Lerone.
Thank you.
Glad to have you back. Glad to have you back. And, Steve, go ahead.
All right, Zef. Yeah, so I'm Steve Boughton. I'm the owner of Great Turning Advisors. We're a business consultancy that serves small businesses, nonprofits, and social enterprises. My passion is really about helping people who don't have access to necessarily the same information that the top consultant firms can offer big companies, and so our goal is to help them grow and make a more sustainable economy.
Amazing.
Well, thank you for joining us, and welcome to the show. And folks, if you're brand new to the show and you're probably wondering if we do have a hashtag. Of course we do have a hashtag. This is a 21st century show. So here's our hashtag Creative Chat Cafe. Watches Wednesdays 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So the regular layout of the show, we kind of focus on three things. The first, of course, we'll have a great start up to the conversation, and today the topic is why social enterprise is becoming the more popular choice. And then, of course, we won't leave you without giving you some tips. And at the end of the show, we'll also give you some resources for inspiration of, in relations to the topic that we're talking about today. So let's get started. So, Steve, I know, and I think you're pretty big in the social enterprise scene. And from what I've learned myself, the social enterprise business model is actually becoming a favorite among many entrepreneurs. And since this model is pretty new and trending, that I think there haven't been much or many successful stories, ones that we can model and learn from. So if you folks out there are wondering who Steve is, so I met Steve at a networking event I think about 2-3 years ago, right, Steve? And we met at a Green Drinks of New Jersey. We were networking. I was actually thrilled to meet him because he was this passionate gentleman who was talking about, starting a farm school, right, Steve?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about that story, because I miss hearing your passion telling that story. Just probably, in a minute or so, tell us a little bit more of that farm school story, because I love it. Because what you did there, I think, kind of spells out social enterprise to me in a way.
Okay, so yeah, I did my undergrad in environmental studies, and I've always been passionate about trying to figure out how do we create a more sustainable Earth, and how do we treat the people of the world in a more just way. And after undergrad, I got out of school, and I had been involved in the horse world for a long time, teaching horseback riding, working on this farm, and the opportunity sort of arose to blend my passion with environmental education and this property that I was very good friends with the family. And when I met Zef, I was just sort of in the beginning stages of this, and it was a really exciting venture. It's actually what brought me into social enterprise. It's what brought me into business in the first place, you know. Coming from the social background, you'll see a lot of people who are very, for lack of a better term, like hippies. And I had to learn. I had to learn the old-fashioned way. Like, you know, I didn't love business. I didn't know anything about it, but I wanted to make a difference in the world. And so I had to learn as I went. It's actually what helped me to make the decision to go back to business school. But when I met Zef, we were working on this property, and our goal was to provide environmental education to children. So we brought in school teachers, and we used the property to run like summer programs. We taught about natural sciences. We taught horseback riding. We taught about animal care and behavior and being outside in nature. And it was a pretty successful launch. We had a lot of issues, which eventually led to us having to close down that particular company, and it helped me go back to business school. But it's like when you're in social enterprise, it's such a new thing, and it's how do you make it work, and so that's sort of where we were at. But that's kind of where all my passions stem from. How do we transform people's lives and get them thinking about the big question?
That's awesome, and that's why me and Liron are like super excited to have you on our show today, right, Liron? Because we're always, fascinated with people who are passionate about doing something greater than themselves. That I know for sure, So would you say, Steve, that would be your first exposure to social enterprise? Because you're very passionate about this topic of social enterprise. Would you really consider that farm school being your first exposure to the whole social enterprise business model?
Well, yes and no, because I guess what you have to realize is social enterprise largely grew out of nonprofits, and nonprofits are still considered a social enterprise. They are a social enterprise. And so I guess what I would say is when I was younger, even in high school and younger, I volunteered a lot and worked with some nonprofit charities, and that really got me in the spirit of giving. It made me see, I've always had this passion for helping people, but it's kind of, what do you actually have to offer? And so I was out there volunteering, getting involved, talking to leaders of nonprofits, learning about their struggles, and so that was where I really got involved, and then trying to run my own nonprofit. And as I went forward, I realized there's got to be a better solution, and so I went to business school. I studied social entrepreneurship explicitly, actually, and and I was in a really great startup scene there with a lot of different entrepreneurs, a lot of social movement going on there, and that's what really got me starting the current business that I own, which is Great Turning Advisors, because we can do so much for the world, but we've got to start somewhere. And I felt like I had all of this knowledge now. I was so blessed to have all this knowledge. And how do I use that in my networks of people that I know to give back on a larger scale? And that is help other people make their passions a reality. So small businesses, nonprofits, other social enterprises. And so I think what I largely consider Great Turning Advisors is, for lack of a better word, it is a social enterprise.
Yeah, I can tell you that first of all, I love what you do, because it also relates to who I am, and also relates to my networking agenda.
It's so funny you mentioned that. I'm so sorry, but I had to say that because I was holding back. I was saying, what you just said, you probably made Lerone the happiest lady in this hour because it's all about networking, right,
Because,
Lerone?
networking is it's maybe like a big word, but what it's basically about, it's about helping one grow and then get the help like just helping each other grow and
Yeah.
succeed. And there's nothing bigger than, as you said before, helping people that maybe find it hard to help themselves or helping a greater cause. So at the end of the day that you did something for others.
Yeah.
Maybe you never meet them, maybe you will never meet them in your life, but you know that what you do now will affect the world in a certain way, and that's the greatest thing that a person can do. That's on a personal note. So thank you.
Well said. Well said.
What I do like to know, Stephen, though, it's can you tell me more about the business model? What is the actual model of a social enterprise?
Sure. So really, social enterprises are any businesses that are organized around a mission. And usually that mission is to benefit the world in some way. It's not just about profit. It's not about creating private value that people own. So anything. So a nonprofit can be, a social business. A for-profit can be a social business, provided you're organized around some sort of mission to benefit the world. And one of the defining characteristics of social enterprises is they tend to be, they have strict levels of accountability, to society and to their actions and the consequences of their actions. They don't just think about profit. You hear a lot lately about what's called like a triple bottom line, They want to know, okay, how are we impacting profits, but also how are we impacting people and the planet? We want to know the whole story.
Yeah.
And so that's sort of really what the business model is about. It's not just having one bottom line of profits. It's about thinking about the holistic view of how your company impacts the world.
Yeah.
And Steve, I know you mentioned this a little bit, but I think many of our audience are still in a daze when we talk about social enterprise, because some of the questions I think I often hear people asking is, are all social enterprises not for profit? Which you kind of briefly touched a little bit. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, the answer is no way. I mean, we're in the 21st century now, and there's so much that we didn't know before. I think it has a lot to do with the way human values are shifting in the world, but as we've gotten more people with business education, more people with legal education, we've been able to pair up great social entrepreneurs who believe in something with people that have real understanding of how capitalism works, how the markets work, how to create value in the world. And it's leading to this change where you're seeing people who are creating business models that are both sustainable and profitable, but they also give back in a huge way. And so, charity is no longer the only way to create change in the world.
Agree.
So
one of the big things that you're seeing, many states are now adopting something called an L3C business entity, and that stands for low profit, limited liability company. It's like we had this huge revolution in the markets when the LLC was created, and now we have this L3C, which basically says, you have a mission-driven business. It's not solely about maximizing profit. It has a mission. And the idea is the vehicle is supposed to be used to help distinguish which companies have this social mission and might make for good investments from things like private foundations. Private foundations have, a requirement to invest or donate about 5% of their portfolio towards some sort of charitable cause that their foundation is related to. And by making these program-related investments in a for-profit social enterprise, they can create value for society because they don't need to have a huge return on their investment because they're charities, they're private foundations, right? So you've got these foundations that can invest in a social enterprise. You also have what I would call regular investors that can invest in that social enterprise. The regular investors can still get their return that they need. The private foundations can take a lower return, and the amount in the middle is where it's going straight to the charity.
Yeah.
And so this is like a great new vehicle. It's just up and coming. Some states haven't adopted it yet. A lot of states have. And it's going to be interesting to see where it goes.
I can tell you, it's so interesting what you're saying, but basically you're saying that there are different forms of social enterprises today, which is not only the charities that we knew. And for example, I visited Barcelona a month ago, and I went to visit, there is a global network of hubs. And Hub Barcelona, they told me, our entrepreneurs that are staying at their hub are all about social mission and all about social.
Wow, I love that. I get goosebumps just talking about it.
Yeah, and you know, me too, because exactly what you said, that's the same feeling I get. You know, it's just, wow, like another hub that's going to do things for the world. So do you think, Stephen, that now that there's so many forms of social enterprises, do you think that maybe the nonprofit business model may disappear in a certain time or way?
I don't know. In the scope of history, I don't know that nonprofits will totally disappear, but I do think what we're seeing is that the values of the world are shifting. And what that means is people recognize, especially here, you know, people that have wealth, people that have built a life for themselves, you know, who aren't just in the day-to-day grind, you know, all people in our country and across the world are saying, you know what, we value charity. We want to consume charity. Like we can put $1 on charity and say this is something we value, like something that you can consume, like you go to buy something at the store, you know. So people want to get involved. They want to help. Maybe they're personally connected, maybe they're not. But I don't think the nonprofit model is obsolete. But what I do think is that, you know, for-profit social ventures are likely to attract more successful business models and more successful business minds, because it's engaging. It's, you know, when you're in a for-profit model, you have to make something sustainable. It has to be sustainable. It can't be just subsidized by the goodwill of the people. You have to provide value and extract value. And so because of that interplay, I think you're going to see very successful stories come about. You know, and if you're providing value to your consumer, you're likely to get them to pay more than if you were just doing a charitable model like nonprofit. People like to believe that they're charitable.
I'm sorry, we just have to. We love the sound effects in here, so our audience will wake up, because you made a great point there, you know, and you're absolutely right. And Liron, let me quickly jump to you. We're talking about social enterprises, and you know, you're such a big networking person, just like I am, but how do you think social enterprises need to market their business differently from other types of businesses? Because I'm sure it involves some sort of social networking or networking skills there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, first of all, you know, I think it's in terms of social enterprises, it's like a business. So every business has to find what differentiate one to another. You know, for example, if you take Avis, that their slogan is "We try harder." So their differentiating point is about their service. Or McDonald's, which, you know, they try to do this health revolution. So every company, like companies need to find differentiation points. Also, social enterprises should, which is basically kind of easy, because they say, you know, when you buy from Tom's Shoes, you give an African boy a shoe, and just as you said, it's the value, you know. So when you buy from me, you give a greater, you give to a greater cause. Now, I had a production company, and I was working for social cause, and what I discovered when I approached big companies, I wanted them to sponsor my event and sponsor this cause, and also when I approached, private people, I discovered that a lot of people want to help, but sometimes they need someone to come and push them, and show them the way, and then they would help. Because I want to help, but I wake up in the morning and I don't do it. But if someone told me, now, here, put your money or energy here, I'll do it. Same with social enterprise. So,
True.
So maybe
you have to remind them.
It's also networking, but maybe it's more marketing, what I just said. So just the cause and the mission of social enterprise, it's what differentiates them and help other people to come and want to invest in them and basically get two values, one for them and one for others.
Yes, yes, and
Yeah.
I so agree. Wow, we could really go on and on just
Yeah.
talking in general about this topic because I too love the topic, Steve. I mean, that's why I wanted you on this show. One of the biggest things moving forward, now that we've talked and discussed about this general topic, generally about this topic of, social enterprise, and why it's becoming the more popular choice. Steve, what are some of your tips on how, someone can get started with the idea of creating a social enterprise, and maybe how to get the best results, because there's a lot of information out there, and in hoping that they would not get overwhelmed, what's your tips for them?
Okay, absolutely. There is a lot of information, and it's kind of about, like we said, it's about the mission and staying focused. So the first thing that I want to recommend to people is check out and understand the differences between what a nonprofit is, what a for-profit is, and what this new hybrid business model called the L3C is. You want to understand how you want to make a difference in the world, right? Where do you think the most value is going to be created? I'll give you a perfect example. I was working with a startup company when I was back at school. They had this great business model. They wanted to create all this change, and they wanted to be a nonprofit. And I said to them, I said, you know what, though? You have such a great business. You're going to provide such value, and your idea is to reach so many people. I said, if you're a nonprofit, you're not going to be able to get the investment capital you need to grow that business fast enough and reach the people you need to before somebody else swipes it up. So I said nonprofits have really good value to offer depending on what you're trying to do. But when you have a super stellar idea that has a real audience who's willing to pay for it, sometimes offering the for-profit or the hybrid business model is going to get you there faster, and it's going to use the resources more sustainably. So check out those differences first. Then, my second suggestion is reach out to other social entrepreneurs. Like Lerone is saying, it's all networking, right? So you want to know, you want people to know what you're passionate about. You want to find out what they're passionate about. There are so many great mentors and collaborators out there that you won't even know about until you get out there and talk to them. So definitely learn.
Sorry, but like you said, reach out to people, and I think one of the bigger group of people that you can definitely, our folks out there can definitely tap in, which is just as you're talking, reminded me are the co-working communities, because I know right here in Connecticut there's a co-working community in Hartford, Connecticut, which is actually dedicated to social enterprise, and it's like booming, and they have incubators. So that's a great point. So sorry that I jumped in, but you made a great point.
That's perfect. Those co-working spaces are popping up everywhere. The entrepreneurial communities are popping up everywhere. We're seeing a revolution in entrepreneurship across the country and probably across the world.
I'm so happy.
I can tell you that in Barcelona there are more than 150. Sorry, in Spain. Oh, sorry, Barcelona. More than 150 co-spaces. Like more than 150. And in Israel, I don't count. It's just there's a new one every day. The startup nation.
Oh yeah, Israel is leading the way on entrepreneurship. I mean, it's incredible what they're doing.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead. Continue.
The last thing I think is really important for people. The last thing I think that's really important for people then is once you have a little bit of understanding and you know what you can do, then you want to develop your business model.
Yeah.
When you're doing this, you want to define your broad vision. Like, what are you trying to solve? What problem are you going after? And then you have to recognize you can't do everything. So create that mission. That the mission is what creates a social enterprise. You have to have some mission. Make it specific. Set boundaries so that you know I can't do everything. Here's how we're going to go about it. Here's what I think. We might change that along the way when we find out what works and doesn't, but here's how we're going to operate. And then think about the resources that you need and where they're going to come from. What are you offering? Is there a market for what you're offering? If not, is there a special interest group? So this will sort of start to help tell you, is it going to be a for-profit model? Is it going to be a non-profit model? Is it going to be some sort of a hybrid? Because you want to know, is it something that you need charity for? Is it something that you can get private foundations involved in? Is it something that investors will eat up because you can show them there's a market for this product? So once you know that, then you're sort of on your way. Everything else, you can find the right people to get involved. If you have passion, never lose your passion. But if you have passion for something, the rest of the knowledge and the people and the partners, they'll come.
Lerone, quickly, I know Steve right there just closed out with network and reach people. So let me ask you this quickly, how do you think the social enterprises can create awareness for their message from networking?
Yeah, well, of course, it's just about spreading the word, but as I always teach, it's about spreading the word to everyone, but also try to be specific, or try to plan your networking, which means if they want to go to influencers, then they should try and aim meeting influencers in the right events or the right places, or approaching them personally and network. If they want to get investments, as just Steve mentioned, to try to approach VCs events, or try to, on the one hand, try to network with everyone, because everyone can enjoy the cause and the product. But then again, try to also be focused and network with the right people. For example, there is this amazing entrepreneur, which Marie Forleo, you know her, like a very, very famous American marketing and entrepreneur. And Marie Forleo, she's a big influencer, and I learned about Tom Shoes from her show. So since this influencer talks about a company such as Tom Shoes, it just brings it out there. So it's about networking, about getting your message across to the right people.
See, what about you? Do you have something that you, an inspirational story about maybe a social enterprise that you've been following, or could be a huge inspiration for our audience out there?
Sure. I mean, there's so many different ones out there, and but there's only a handful that have really made national or international significance right now. But some of my favorites are Better World Books. They do a lot to. They're a bookstore. They usually get involved with textbooks and things. They'll do collections, and they do this thing called Books for Africa, where they send used textbooks over to Africa. As Lerone mentioned, it used to be Tom's Shoes, and now it's just Tom's, because they do a lot now. They also do eyewear, they do shoes, they do everything. So they're always trying to find a back end. You buy our product, and we're going to help somebody else in need. Newman's Own is an interesting one. They're the ones that make the different food products, like that salad dressing and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're now basically a subsidiary of the larger foundation, and all of their profits go into the nonprofit charity. So it's it's a wonderful company. They've been around for so long, and basically from the outset, they have just been about giving back.
And with Newman's, my personal experience with Newman's is I was just shopping for salsa, and right there on the shelf it says Newman's Own, and it says 100% profit goes to charity. 100%. I mean, hello, that's a big deal. Yeah, that's a big deal. Is there anything else?
Yeah, so a couple personal connections of mine. One of my mentors, Chris Miller, is based out of St. Louis. He's doing a lot with social entrepreneurship and social enterprise, and he runs an L3C. He's one of the very early L3C adopters and advocates. He runs an L3C called the Mission Center L3C. This is a great organization. They're trying to...
Mission Center L3C? Okay, let me just share that on the screen, because I think I have it right here on my screen.
Sure.
Give me a second, so that we can share this. So is this the company you're talking about, and this is your friend?
Yes.
Okay, tell us a little bit more about this.
So Chris is really passionate about, he basically said, nonprofits have a lot of issues, dealing with like their back office stuff, administrative stuff, accounting, healthcare, human resources, things like that. And so Chris is really dedicated to helping them have a portal in which they can find these services in affordable ways. And so he is a hybrid business model. They operate for profit, but they do this great social service and serve all of these charities in the area. So I'm glad you shared that website because they're a great company and they're doing so many.
I love the graphics. Yeah, I mean, we need more of these companies, and the fact that many more people, many more entrepreneurs are leaning more towards this business model is very, very refreshing. Because yes, we all can come together as entrepreneurs and build build a better world and make changes and contribute in the same way and pull other people to come along and join our causes and support our causes. I mean, folks, we can go on and talking on and on about this, and you know, I think we just need to have another show, Steve. I mean, we just need to have another show. I know. We should have another show. And, yeah, let's plan for it sometime. But before we go, folks, I know when we're having fun, it always seems like it's at the end of the time. I mean, the end of the show, and we're out of time. So I just want to do the quick regular stuff. I just want to share the information where you can watch Creative Chat Cafe. So I'm going to share again the information. So you can go to our website, entrepreneurs@soar.com, and you click on Watch Hangouts, and there's a Creative Chat Cafe. Click on that, and you'll be able to follow up all our previous episodes. And our most current one will be up top. And then you can also subscribe to our Entrepreneurs That Soar YouTube channel. And there is a playlist that's called Creative Chat Cafe. You can also catch up all the previous episodes there. Or you can see Liron right there. And join our Creative Chat Cafe Google Plus community on Google Plus. And you know, we love to take our post-show conversations in this community. Come in and introduce yourself, and you know, make some announcements. We have all these tabs on the left, and you can kind of highlight your posts according to what you want to put. You want to categorize them. So let me have this my co-host, and my guest, kind of before we go off air, just to let you know how you can connect with them, and you know, just in case you have any questions. Of course, we're all on social media these days, websites, we're everywhere. But I'm going to let Liron go start off and let you know how you can connect with her. Go ahead, Liron.
Thank you so much. So first of all, I have to say, Stephen, you're so knowledgeable, and what you do is so amazing, and this has been so thank you so much. And as for me, you can definitely contact me through my website, which you can see here, www.lironglickman.com. Of course, you can email me at info@lironglickman.com. Thank you so much. It's been a great show.
Woohoo! Thank you, Liron. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure as usual. Steve, please go ahead. Let's give it to our audience how they can connect with you and how they can get your information.
Sure. So we invite people to check out our website, www.greatturningadvisors.com. We're also on Facebook, and we're also on LinkedIn, and we're growing our social media presence as we speak. So be sure to get in there, like our page, follow us. We're coming up with new content all the time, and you know, we're always happy to invite guests to give us a call if their business is in need.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy that we were able to make this happen. And as usual, folks, watch Creative Chat Cafe every Wednesdays, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on entrepreneurs@soar.com. And here's our hashtag again, #Creative Chat Cafe. Until next week, Wednesday, we'll see you on the next show of Creative Chat Cafe. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Liron. Have a great week, everybody. Let's raise our mugs. Have a creative and productive day, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.